Hello everyone, welcome back. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on these videos. And you can always check out all the other videos up here by clicking on the I button of the playlist in the link in the description. So this is going to be the last installment for the putting series that we've been going over. We've covered many different topics on putting, and there is much more to cover, but this is going to do it for now. I'm ready to move on into chipping. We've covered most of the fundamentals and the basics. This last installment of putting is going to include the practice techniques that you will need to do in order to become the putter that you want to be. Thankfully, there's only a couple of drills and practicing that you need to do to become and maintain efficiency at putting. Essentially, we've divided those in the last video between short putts and long putts, so these are going to be the two things that we practice: shorter makeable putts and longer putts. But before we can do either of those, first you must learn how to roll the ball end over end. So we're going to start there. So before you practice rolling the ball, you will need to prepare a couple or three balls with lines on them. I've used this little device that clips onto the ball, and then you paint the line on it with that, and I just went all the way around with it and painted it. They also have some devices that will spin the ball and supposedly find its center of mass and then rotate it around that so that the ball will be exactly in balance. And you can use those to mark the ball also, but whatever, you need to put a line on it that's relatively straight so you can see how the ball is rolling on the ground. The idea of practicing hitting the ball end over end is that we're getting the ball to roll like this and not to wobble like this, so that the ball is actually rolling on top of the ground and not spinning sideways so much. So we want to try to get the ball to roll as straight as possible. You want to find a relatively straight putt. This is going to be somewhat straight. It will break to the right a little bit, but you want to find quite a straight putt and line up your line on the ball with the break or straight at the hole. And then you want to come up here and you want to be able to hit the ball such that when you putt it, the ball, you just see the line going, you see the line rolling end over end and not wobbling. So an end over end putt would look something like this. You see the ball rolls end over end. That line just keeps going around like this. Aim it at the hole there. And you see that all these balls are rolling end over their end, straight into the hole. Just like so. When you first do this, your putt may not roll end over end. It may roll something like this. And you see, even though that putt went in the hole, that's not nearly as good of a putt because the ball was not rolling end over end. I'll show you that again, a sideways putt or a cut putt with some spin on it. And you see, this is such a short putt. This is just a 3-foot putt, so it's very difficult to miss. But as the putts get longer and longer away, that side spin putt is not going to be as good as rolling it end over end. So rolling it end over end is certainly going to be preferable, like so, then hitting them sideways. So you just want to practice this until you can get the ball to roll over the end and where you just see the line going over and over and over. Just like so. Once you can do this, then your stroke will be very good. Once you can roll the ball like that, you're ready to go. So step one is learning how to roll the ball. Now you may have to practice those small 3-footers rolling the ball end over end until you can do that. If you're going to use the techniques that I've shown you in the previous videos, especially with bending the putter, that'll make that extremely easy. Even if you just use the foundations, getting the putter straight with your arm, rolling the ball like that will become very easy for you. Then you can begin the other practice. I did not mention this in the alignment video, but it also is very possible to take the line on the ball that you make and use this on the golf course when you play. You see many professionals doing this. They take the line on the ball and they align that line down their target line, down the path, and this gives them something to square up to when they come up to the ball to ensure that they're aligned where they want to be. Because oftentimes it's very difficult, as you saw in the vision video last time, that it's easier to see things from behind the line when we're behind it than it is once we're on top of the ball looking at it. You can't really trust what you see when you're on top of the ball. Only when you're behind the ball can you trust what you see down the line. So you can use the line on the ball to align to your target or your path and putt with that. I mentioned in the last video that putting can be divided into two different types of putts: short putts, long putts, or makeable and lag putts. And so these are really the two things that we need to practice: short putts and lag putts. And they differ as into the way we practice and the way we approach them. On a short putt, accuracy is much more important than speed. A 3-foot putt, a 4-foot putt, a 5-foot putt, speed is not nearly as important as the accuracy at which you send the ball. Varying speeds will actually put the ball in the hole as long as the ball gets to the hole. But when you're putting a longer putt, accuracy becomes less important and your speed control becomes much more important. If you're putting a 30-foot putt, say, it's not going to be likely that you miss the putt left or right by too much if the putt is relatively straight, but you may leave it long or short by 5 feet or more because your distance control is not so good. So shorter putts, accuracy is more important than speed, and on the longer putts, the speed is more important than the line. So the main thing to practice on putting is short putts. We're going to start there. Short putts are the most important putts. This is going to be the last shot you take to put the ball into the hole. So we're going to practice short putts essentially more than the other putts, because once we get it to within a certain distance, we want to be able to make it. We're going to call that distance 5 feet. I want you to think now that there is a 5-foot radius around the hole. Your goal is to get the ball within that 5-foot radius. All of your other shots are to get the ball within this radius of the hole so that you can then put it into the hole with a high probability. Inside of 5 feet, you want to become quite proficient, making upwards of 80% of these balls. And you can do this by practicing a bunch of these putts. Practicing short putts is relatively simple, and you're going to require 5 golf balls to practice short putts, so get yourself 5 golf balls. And what we're going to do is we're going to practice 5 different putts around the hole. Each one incrementally at 1 foot longer than the other, or about that distance. I don't actually measure it, I just estimate what a foot is. As long as it's under 6 foot at the end, it's okay. Oops. So here I've lined up the 5 balls, and presumably this is 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, and a 5-foot putt. And to give you an idea of the percentage that you want to make these, we'll just compare to Tour Pro stats. And I know we're not tour professionals, but we can use this as a guideline. Tour professionals will make, considering this is a 3-foot putt, tour professionals will make 96% or more of these putts. At 4 feet, they will make 88%. At 5 feet, this will be 77%. So you consider the professionals are making 96 out of 100 here, 88 out of 100 here, and 77 out of 100 here. That seems crazy that the difference between just this little distance between 5 feet and 3 feet is a huge difference. This is 96% make on tour. This is 77% make. So that means if 100 professionals were to putt this putt, they're going to miss it 23 times. 23 professionals will miss this putt at 5 feet. That's a very low percentage, relatively speaking, for a 5-foot putt. So if you can become very proficient at this distance, this makes the game much easier. You want to putt a lot of these putts so that you can make them and see them going into the hole. So we're going to putt these 5 balls from this side, and then we'll also putt them from this side, and then we'll putt them from this side, and then we'll putt them from this side. So we're going to putt the 5 balls in 4 different directions, and the object is to make at least 3 out of the 5. That's my number. Actually, when I practice, I'd go for 4, but if you're just beginning, just set the number low so you don't get too frustrated. Once you make 3 out of the 5, If you make 3 out of the 5, move on to the other direction. If you don't make 3 out of the 5, putt them again until you do. Once you make the 3 out of the 5, move to this direction, and then once you make 3 out of 5 there, move to this direction, and then to this direction, and so on until you've completed the hole. 4 directions on the hole. This will give you experience putting in the 4 different types of putts: uphill, downhill, hook putts, and cut putts, or right to left and left to right. So you'll get to experience all around the hole and the different putts and how the ball reacts on these greens at this distance on these different slopes. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this one for you so you can see how this process goes. Okay, missed one, no problem. Move on to the next. Okay, so I've completed the exercise there. I've been in all 4 directions. I made 4 out of the 5, which was the number that I wanted. If you want to be very strict on yourself, you can try to go for all 5. 4 is enough for me. Once I make 4 in every direction, now I've completed 1 hole. That means I've putted 20 putts, 5 putts in 4 directions. That's 20 putts per hole. Putt this 5 times in 5 different holes, and you'll have 100 putts. At 100 putts, you can then determine what your percentage rate is. Just count the ones you miss, and you'll know what your percentage is on making putts from 5 feet. You will find that this will be very high. Probably even for some of you that don't putt that well, probably upwards of 60 or 70%. For some of you that putt better, maybe upwards of, maybe even greater than 90%. So you'll find that you make a lot of these putts. And if you make that many, you're watching a bunch of putts go in the hole, and you become very familiar with how the putts react on different slopes from that distance, so that when you're on the course, you can feel that out and you'll have familiarity with that type of a slope, that kind of a putt. And you'll gain experience in putting the different putts, how uphill putts differ from downhill putts, and how hook putts or right to left putts will be different for you than left to right putts. The way that I putt all of these putts is slightly different. The variation is just a little bit changed. I don't approach all the putts the same way. So it typically takes me about 30 minutes to putt the 100 putts on a green like this that has a few holes. It doesn't take very long for me. I can complete my 100 putts in about 30 minutes, and then once I do that, I work on some speed things. If you just work on this 1 time a week, 100 putts a week, your putting will improve dramatically under 5 feet. You will begin to gain confidence, you will know that you can make it, and you will feel very good about making putts at this distance. You will no longer get on top of them and feel scared, because you will have putted so many and seen so many different variations that you won't have any fear about putting them, because you will have already made countless of them. So you've been practicing your putting, and you've done this circle drill, 5 balls in 4 directions now, a few 100 putts. You're starting to make them. You're starting to feel good about it. Then you understand that golf is just about getting the ball within that 5-foot circle, because once you get it in that 5-foot circle, you're going to have a pretty good chance of putting it in the hole. So the object becomes get it into that circle, so then you can have a pretty good chance of putting it into the hole. So this brings in long putting. Short putting, 5 feet and in, we're trying to make all of those. Long putting, we're just trying to get it within that 5 feet. 3 preferably, because we know at 3 feet we'll be closer to over 90% make than 5 feet. But preferably 3, but 5 is okay. We'll take the 5. So we want to get our long putts within that range so that we can then 2-putt. We don't want to 3-putt, we want to 2-putt. So long putting is just really about getting the ball within that 5-foot circle from any distance. Once we get it within that 5-foot circle, we feel confident that we can then put the ball in the hole. We know the practice to do that. Practice around the hole in 4 directions. You've got that. I mentioned that speed is more important in long putts. Direction is not so much. You're not going to be likely to miss a long putt by more than a few feet, 5 feet left or right. It's not going to be likely, unless the putt, of course, is breaking a lot. You're playing severely undulated greens. It is possible for putts to break 10 or 12 feet and then you miss it by a few feet. That's okay. But putts like this that are relatively flat, you're not going to miss this by 5 feet left or right, maybe not even 3. So then left or rightness is not such a big deal, but the distance forward and back does become important because I want to get the speed so that the ball settles within a couple of feet, long or short. So to practice speed putts, you just putt a few speed putts. Your mind is already calculating. If you've played golf any, you know that your brain is already calculating how to do the thing. Oftentimes we just have to get out of the way. And you can practice your long putts with 1 or 2 or 3 balls. It doesn't really matter. You're just trying to calibrate what you see in relation to how hard you hit it. So this putt that I'm going to putt here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 21 feet. So we're going to see what my speed control is on this green. I'm going to putt these putts and see what I think about it. I have not putt this putt yet, so I don't know how fast it is. I'm just going to putt it and see what my brain tells me. I putted it just to see. That's pretty good speed. It rolled past the hole about a foot. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's a little bit long there. I'm not focused on the direction so much. I'm just really trying to calculate the speed. Just want to see that what I think the speed is the speed. So those last two were very good there. I feel like my brain is quite calculated on these greens. We'll try a different putt. This hill is going to be much longer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this is closer to 33 or 35 feet, and it's going slightly uphill. When you're practicing your long putts, you want to putt a little bit of all of them. Uphill putts, downhill putts, side hill putts. So now I'll putt this putt until I get calibrated on it. If I putt the 3 balls and none of them are close to the hole, they're either way too long, way too short, or I'm just simply not satisfied with the speed that I had on that putt, I will putt them again until I do feel satisfied with the speed that I have on that putt. And we'll move on to a different distance or a different hole. Pretty good speed there again. So about a foot past the hole. Once again, I'm not really taking a lot of time to read these putts. I'm just seeing if my distance is okay. Once again, see, I feel very good, well calibrated on this green. I practice on this green a lot, so it's understandable that I'm going to putt very well on this green because I putt here quite a bit. If I'm on a brand new green or in a new golf course, I may be playing in a tournament and I'm putting on a green for the first time, it may take me quite a few putts before I recalibrate to the speed so that I can look at the distance of the hole, if it's downhill or uphill, and then be able to replicate that speed. And I just do that simply by putting a bunch of the putts on the greens until I can putt the speed that I need. When I see the distance, I'm able to deliver that certain speed. So here we're putting a downhill putt to this hole. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's about another 33 feet, but this time down the hill. So it's going to be a little bit faster. And once again, I just read it very quickly from the back. I'm not that interested in the break right now. I'm just trying to calibrate my speed, so I don't try to focus on too many things simultaneously when I'm practicing. On the course, I would have to take into consideration both things, but for now, I'm just trying to make sure that my speed is what I see. So that one missed way left, almost 5 feet. I did not read that properly at all. Wanted to show you that direction doesn't really matter. But the speed was good. The speed was good on the second one. It does break quite a bit there at the end. This time we'll play a little bit more break. And that one's a little short. So I'm not very satisfied with these putts. This one is about 3 feet away. This one's 3 feet. This one is every bit of 5 feet away. So, you know, from 33 feet, I want to be a little bit better than that. So we'll putt these again. And you'll see that when I putt them again, my speed should be much better this time without much effort from me, because I've already seen it go one time, and my brain will process these things and then deliver better speed the next time. I just want to do this as many times as is necessary so that I can look at the fact that it's downhill and then hit the speed that I want so that it settles close to the hole. That's much better speed there. Okay. And you see, these putts are better than the ones that I just hit. Still, this is a little bit long. I may even putt them again until I'm satisfied. But you get the idea. You just putt the putts until you can learn and look at and tell the distance very easily just by putting so many that you can feel it out. And in other words, that the speed that the ball actually rolls when you make the physical motion matches what you think the distance is, that the ball does settle relatively close to the hole. And this can take a few putts until you get the hang of it, but after a little bit, your brain will calculate and you'll know that this power, I need this much power to send the ball about there. So one last practice you can implement is practicing as if you're playing on the course, the way that you would putt on the course. That is, you would putt them all the way out and you would go through your entire process. Your pre-shot routine, everything that is necessary for you to try to put the ball in the hole. And you could play as many holes as you like. I'm going to putt these few here. I'll putt this one, and this one. And we'll go the opposite direction that we went last time, so it'll be a little bit new. So this time I'm going to go through the whole process and play all 3 of these holes. And we're looking for 2 putts a hole or less. So in these 3 holes, I want to make 6 shots or less. So I'm going to read this putt here and go through my process and my routine. And my pre-shot routines involves understanding the break, where I'm going to hit it, where I want to miss it, how fast it's going to be. All right, that's one. Pretty good. I don't have to 2-putt that one. Putting this way lets you practice your actual routine that you're going to use on the course so that it becomes more familiar to you when you are on the course. This is a tap in, but I'll read it and look at it anyway. Okay, one final hole. This is a lag putt. I was hoping to leave that one short of the hole. I underestimated the fact that I'm coming into the grain here. It was downhill, but into the grain. Now I've left myself quite a long putt to finish. This is the moments that are clutch. These are the moments that make or break you as a golfer. It's nice to put pressure on yourself like that, because that's the same kind of pressure that you're going to feel on the golf course, so that when you're faced with such a recovery, you can put it in. So I will speak briefly about a pre-shot routine. In your pre-shot routine, you want to accomplish many different things. But on putting, essentially we want to determine the speed that we want to hit the putt, and then the line associated with that speed, the target associated with that speed. And we want to determine, you know, if we're trying to make it or if we're lagging it, what the deal is. And I determine all of this in my pre-shot routine before I get on top of the ball. I have to do all of this before. I told you it's good not to doubt or to hit the ball in doubt. It's good to be confident, and to be confident, you don't want to spend too much time on top of the ball. Do all of your thinking beforehand so that when you get up to the ball, you're able to do a couple of practice strokes and then hit the ball without too much time going by. So that's pretty much going to wrap up putting. Putting practice, to summarize, you just need to practice 2 things: speed control short putts, the 5-foot circle. Just these two things alone will increase your putting dramatically. You will putt much better, you will feel more confident, it won't take you that much time. I would think that no more of an hour putting would be plenty of time to practice during your practice session, and that's going to be about 30 minutes for the 100 putts of short putts, and then another 30 minutes of doing some longer stuff, maybe not even that much. Normally the longer putting doesn't even take me that long because it doesn't take that long for your brain to calculate the speed, maybe even 45 minutes or so, but surely not more than an hour. So just an hour of putting when you come out to the range, when you're doing your golf practice, will put a lot of improvement in your putting. I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. You can always check out 2 of my other videos here and subscribe here. From here, we're going to talk about some chipping. We're moving on to the next little short series. We're going to go on the chipping, and that's going to be real fun. Till next time.